In Conversation is a collection of interviews with fashion photographers, models, makeup artists and stylists, as they give an insight into the industry and talk about some of their most inspiring images. Welcome to In Conversation. As explained, it gives us a chance to kind of talk to creatives. Obviously, it has been quite a lot of fashion focused, but then trying to keep it quite art as well, and talk to different creatives in various different areas, just to give a chance to talk about your work, and some of your background, and kind of explain through some of the stuff you've created. So what I'll do first, actually, I've got some of my notes, so I just wanted to say, you've got quite a vast amount of work and areas of creation to go into.
Yes.
And I noticed on the website, it's kind of basically you've got it listed as photographer, set designer, prop maker, creative director, filmmaker, and content creation.
Yeah, a lot.
So I think just in general, I wanted to kind of start, where do you start with something like that as a journey?
As in, how did I get to where I'm at now type thing?
Yeah, because it's quite a lot to take on. So
I know. I think I describe myself as all of that on my website because they're the things that I can do and kind of do for clients. But I would mainly describe myself as a photographer, set designer, and filmmaker maybe. Filmmaking's an area I want to kind of move more into. I've been doing a few more music videos and things like that recently. But that's definitely an area I'm interested in. I'm really interested in stop motion as well. And that also kind of goes hand in hand with set design, I think. So I think in the future, I want to be doing more directing. But yeah, for now, mainly photographer and set designer. And yeah, I've sort of always loved photography ever since I was a child, really. My grandparents live on a canal boat, and they always have. Up until very recently, but I used to go and visit them, and my grandma was a very keen photographer, so I just used to use her little digital camera, and I initially started doing wildlife photography when I was about 11 or 12, and I really enjoyed that, but then I think the older I got, the less interest that was to me, and also the more I realised how expensive wildlife photography is, and I just didn't have the patience for it.
It's a lot of travel as well, isn't it?
Yep.
That adds the cost up.
Exactly. And the lenses are so expensive. I decided to go to university and study photography. I went to Leeds Arts University and I studied photography. And while I was at university, I think in first year I was very unsure of what I wanted to do. But by second and third year, I knew I wanted to go into fashion and sort of commercial imagery. But also, while being at university, I also discovered how fun set design was. All of the shoots I did, I didn't feel like shoots that I did with a plain background were as fun, really. I just liked I liked having a narrative to the shoots that I did and creating, a story behind it and making it really colourful, and set design came along as a part of that. So I started doing that in university as well. Then I graduated and I worked for a year in a family photography studio, which I didn't really enjoy it that much. It wasn't the type of photography I wanted to be doing, and I worked as a retoucher there. But while I was working there, I just made sure I was working super hard every evening and on the weekend as well, to build up my client base, and also even just doing a lot of personal editorials just to kind of keep me feeling creative. I didn't want to lose that sort of spark and enjoyment I had within photography. And then after a year, I decided to go freelance, and I got my studio here, and I've been freelance ever since. And that's been nearly 4 years now. So I've had the space for 4 years, and I've been freelance for 4 years, and I have done a few things within that time as well. I worked part-time for a company called Lord Whitney. It's a set design company. They do really, really amazing work. And that was really fun to kind of get my foot in the door of the set design industry. And I've been really, committing to set design ever since then. On top of that, I worked part-time for And Walsh, which is a creative agency in New York. Really, really great agency started by Jessica Walsh. And I was doing photography and set design for them remotely in my studio for just under a year as well. But apart from that, I've just been doing all my own stuff. I set up a set design company literally exactly a year ago today, I think. with my set design business partner John, who's like a carpenter, and that's called Druid Studio, and that's where we do any bigger builds. If we have really big jobs, we do them in our workshop. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
It's a long explanation.
No, that's good. No, that's what I would say,
Yeah.
because that's what I mean, like, when looking on through your work and the website, and it's quite a vast, that's, for me, it was just, that's what I kind of thought, like, where do you start on a journey like that? And like, I think, like you're saying there, it just kind of inevitably evolves and you start taking on other stuff and everything. How is it to kind of, to manage like the different stuff of, like, if it's photography or set design, is it quite a lot to kind of balance?
I think for some reason the way that my brain works, I really enjoy it. I don't like focusing on one thing at a time. I think what I enjoy about the career that I have is that I can dip into different things depending on what I kind of want to be doing. And I'm super open to learning new things and new industries. And I think a lot of the time people are told just to commit to doing one thing, and you can't be balancing more than one thing, just pursue one thing. What's the quote, like, jack of all trades, master of none. But I just totally disagree with that, because I think by doing photography, that's helped my set design, because I know what the set design needs to look like for the photographer or the videographer, and then by doing set design, that's helped my photography. So it's kind of like everything I'm doing all helps me out in understanding a more a bigger range within the industry as a whole. So yeah, you can
I know what you mean. So you can kind of, if you are, say, like, creating a set or something, it's like you kind of know what, as a photographer, they would want, or
exactly
that kind of thing as well.
Yeah, like I can think about lighting, and well, if I light it like this, the set would look like that, etc. And even if I'm doing set design for a project, say on a music video or a commercial project, I can also pitch in with my own ideas about the lighting, for example, if they need to figure out how the set could work with that, because I understand the process behind that, because I am also a photographer. I've had a few times on set where I've kind of been afraid to toe the line and kind of speak out on a subject that I've not been hired for that particular project. But every time I have, it's always worked quite well, actually, and then they've always taken that on board and done that as well. So I think it's helpful generally.
Yeah, like you say, it's definitely good to know a bit about quite a lot of it. Do you, if you, with clients or like jobs or anything like that, is it always kind of like one specific thing they want, or do you get somewhere they want you to be? It might not just be doing set design, it might be incorporating other stuff. It's
normally one specific oh, actually no, it's not.
Yeah.
A lot of my projects are quite interchangeable. If I get hired for anything photography related, it usually comes with set design as well for my personal work. So if I'm working with musicians or clothing brands, I will, they'll usually want me to make a set for them as well. And I usually do slightly cheaper rates, for musicians and like startup companies and things like that. But yeah, the bigger companies you work with, the more, they just need you to do one thing, which is usually either set design or photography. But yeah, it's quite useful to do both, I guess, and offer that to people.
Yeah, like I say, well, it's like creating kind of more opportunities, and I think, again, if you are creating something for it, but it can help from your side of being like knowing how, if you can incorporate the photography side as well, and being like, you can sort of, just do it to the way you know you're going to work.
Exactly.
And, how is it freelance? We had a brief chat when I kind of came in, and sort of like, so like with the freelancer stuff, how has that been going? So how long have you been freelancing now?
Just under 4 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how have you found it? Are you enjoying it? Are you preferring it?
So I do love freelancing. I think it definitely is stressful sometimes. I went freelance literally in the middle of COVID. I think it was just at the start of COVID. So obviously that was a bit of a struggle. But having got through that, I do feel like once you get through your first year or so, you're kind of on the right track. I think by then you know how to space out your time and your finances. And I think that's been the main learning curve for me is, some months you might make a load of money, and then others you genuinely might not make a penny. So it's all about, putting your money aside to cover for those months, and it's just about being smart with things like that. But I wouldn't trade it for the world, as much as sometimes I get very distressed and worried if I've not got any work in the calendar. Usually everything just comes in all at once. But it's always worked out for me so far, so I just hope it carries on, I guess.
I think by like you say, at this point now where it's like 4 years and you've got a good gauge then of knowing of like generally when the kind of the busier periods are and the quiet periods, and then knowing that it's just riding that wave a little bit.
Exactly.
What's it like, the kind of creative scene in Leeds? What's that like?
Well, I love the creative scene in Leeds. I came here for university, and I decided to stay here in Leeds afterwards because I loved the creative scene. There seemed like there was lots going on, and obviously also there was a studio space that I could move into, and it's awarded me great opportunities because I work with so many people here, and it's got really great transport links as well, actually, to Manchester, to London. I even once had a client come and work with me from LA, flew from LA to come and work with me in this Leeds studio, which I think is just so funny. But yeah, I do absolutely love it here. I think the only concern is that a lot of creative businesses and companies and, you know, people have been leaving Leeds recently, or, you know, spaces are being closed down. So even my studio here, we literally 2 weeks ago got a notice of eviction from the council, from Leeds City Council, telling us they're just going to sell the building. So I think, as much as I love Leeds and I want it to succeed, the worrying thing is that long term, there might not be many creatives left, because I think if they carry on making decisions like this, creatives don't really have much of a choice but to leave. And, you know, would you rather be in somewhere like Manchester where it feels like there's lots happening, when there's already so few spaces in Leeds? So
I think I've noticed it like from Manchester side as well, like how much more that has grown, and like I said myself, it's only been a couple of times I've been to Leeds as well. Well, like you mentioned, we'll go into the studio in a bit as well and talk a bit about that. But I think stuff like that, it like doesn't help, and you want to be driving people here more, as like say, instead of like kind of driving them away.
You know, a lot of our MPs and council and representatives, they all say they really want to, you know, make Leeds a really creative place and put it on the map, in terms of creativity, especially when you're dealing with sort of rival cities like Manchester that are literally just an hour train journey away. So I think more thought needs to be taken into that, into like, you know, securing the future of the creative scene here, because otherwise, you know, you'll have people coming to the university that won't stay afterwards because there's not as much of a creative scene here anymore. And we've just had Leeds City of Culture 2023 as well. So the fact that this has come the year after that's happened, I've seen so many places shutting down, my studio might be taken away from me. The following year is a bit of a kick in the teeth, because I did a lot of work for Leeds City of Culture 2023 as well. A lot of the people in this building have done a lot of work with the council, so it's a bit not great.
So let's go into the first image then, which is the Child's Play. So this was, I think you said it was like a personal project?
So this was just one of my favourite editorials I've ever done, really, actually. So I absolutely love creating colourful work. It's very rare that I'll come out with a photo shoot that's not colourful. So I had the idea of doing a photo shoot in like a children's indoor play area, and I thought there's no way that anyone's going to let us just randomly do a photo shoot there, because obviously they'd have to close it while we did the photo shoot. But I think it was the first person I tried. He said yes to it immediately, so I took a team down. So we had a model, makeup artist, hairstylist, and a stylist. And it's just one of my favourite editorials, really. I like shooting location-based quite a lot. I do shoot studio quite a lot also. But if I'm shooting on location, I want it to be interesting. So I think with these photos, that was the goal. Like this one, for example, was shot with a fisheye lens, and it's actually the inside of a slide that she's just coming down.
I thought because there's that one, and then there's the blue one.
Yes, and that's on a different slide. Yes, but honestly, it was so much fun. Like probably one of the funnest shoots I've ever done.
So how'd you kind of come up with an idea or something like that?
I just thought it'd be a cool location. That was all. I just thought I'll just try it. And then once they said yes, then we kind of built a bit of a concept around that, and that's why the shoot's called Child's Play as well, because it's literally like a child's play area, but obviously that's kind of a phrase as well. And yeah, we wanted the styling to be really youthful and eye-catching, colourful, and I think the stylist did a great job on that.
Yeah, where did so was that from the stylist side then with the outfits, and
Yes.
did you kind of like sit down with the team and beforehand, and then did you have an idea of that sort of stuff, how you wanted that kind of to look?
I think I had an idea of like colours, like I sent like a mood board over with a type of colour schemes I was thinking, but I typically work with similar teams, like I work with the same people quite a lot, so I always have full trust in them. I like to let them sort of have a say on what they want to do as well, because I always do and they're always amazing. So
yeah.
So yeah.
Is it with a lot of the stuff you do, is it quite a big team, or does that differ?
I definitely differ. Sometimes I do shoots and it is just me and a model, but I always like to try and have at least a model and a makeup artist maybe. The maximum team I'll ever do if it's a personal editorial or anything like that would be a makeup artist, a hairstylist and a stylist, myself and a model, so 5 people, maybe with an assistant as well.
Yeah. And the other thing I was going to ask about these, because these are and I know you've mentioned it on your website as well about like your love for like colour and stuff.
Yeah.
And obviously these ones, you've got like the bright blues, the yellows and all that. Where do you think, what is it about colour that's, because I'm very good with my stuff with photography, I'll do a lot of black and white.
Yes, yeah.
So yes, very kind of contrast, but what is it about colour that really interests you?
I don't really know where that comes from actually. I think when I don't know, I think maybe when I was a child I was really drawn to colour all the time, and I feel like when you're a child your parents tend to dress you in lots of colour and your room's painted loads of colours and things like that, and I feel like as you get older you tend to lose that a little bit. So I think my photography is where I can kind of keep that vividness and brightness and kind of use it for that really.
Yeah. Nice, yeah. Let's do the second one. We'll go into the second one. Let's do the Van Gogh Alien.
Yes.
I love this one. First, okay, what was the kind of idea behind this one then?
Very random concept. I think a lot of my concepts I like to just merge 2 random things together to make it this weird concept. I really, really love the concept of aliens and space. I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I'm also a big fan of like cowboys and that kind of Western aesthetic. So a lot of my shoots actually revolve around those 2 things. But Nikon Europe, I do like a bit of work with them. They asked me to make videos for them, and this was one of them that I pitched to them to do. And it's a Van Gogh alien. Essentially I just decided to mix an alien with Van Gogh's Starry Starry Night, and it came out really well, like much better than I was expecting. Again, had an amazing team. The makeup artist and their hairstylist worked together super well to create this kind of half bold look that I think makes it look very alien and very like different. And then the backdrop as well, I painted that myself.
How long did that take to create?
Right, so I am really bad at this because I always leave stuff till the last minute, which I never should do, but I do it anyway. I did that the morning of the shoot. It took me about 4 or 5 hours. I painted very quickly. Literally was just about 4 or 5 hours, and then we did the shoot in the afternoon. So,
Nice. And then when you get sort of, say like with the model or when you get in to sort of pose, how are you quite directive? Do you show them kind of imagery first, like to do sort of stuff like, so it's not you kind of I'm guessing you want to avoid like the kind of standard like posing, and especially with something like this, how do you kind of direct them?
Again, like I feel like I tend to work with similar models quite a lot, but I very much like to say go crazy with your posing. I really like bold posing, like wide posing, very open, very a lot of movement, things like that. And especially with models that maybe haven't been modelling that long, I like to say, I like to tell them that literally do anything, and the weirder you feel like you look doing it, the better it looks on camera, because genuinely you could be throwing your arms in the air or legs in the air, anything like that, and then you might feel like I look stupid right now, but that always looks best on camera.
Yeah.
So that's the advice I give them, and I'm known to also like pull poses for them to replicate as well.
Okay, yeah. So to kind of show them what do you mean? Okay, yeah. And if you're looking for models for a shoot or something, is that something you look if you're looking through like their book or anything, do you look for someone who seems to have like quite a bit of confidence, or do you feel like if it's someone who's a bit more new, you're kind of fine with sort of teaching them that a bit and kind of...
Yeah, either or. I think it depends on the photo shoot. You know, if it's for a big client, then I'll get a signed model, but sometimes I'll work with unsigned models for smaller shoots and things. And again, I have models that I've worked with a fair few times that I'll also, you know, kind of get in touch with if I've got projects in mind, because I think with my work as well, it is quite bold, and I think some models maybe wouldn't need a style like that. For example, you know, obviously this model's literally got half of her head looking bold. Like, a lot of models would just be like, I don't need that in my portfolio, which is totally fair enough. So I think it also depends on the model as well. I like to work with people that are also really into doing some kind of really editorial crazy stuff.
Yeah, you want them to be passionate about it as well and
Exactly.
enjoy it, because then they're gonna deliver as well. Yeah,
and I want them to get something out of it as well. So yeah.
The next question was going to be about sort of inspiration and where do you get that from? Is it certain other like artists or photographers, anyone, or is it anything in general? What do you kind of...
I think, well, I'd say my favourite fashion photographers are probably like Tim Walker. I really love his stuff. Obviously he works with Shona Heath quite a lot, who's a set designer. I think she does pretty much all the set design for him, and I like that his work's very narrative driven and again incorporates set design quite a lot. And I love his use of fisheye as well. Like, I use fisheye sometimes as well, definitely inspired from him. I also really love Miles Aldridge, super colourful, beautiful, kind of vintagey work. And David LaChapelle as well, although my editing skills are nowhere near as good as his. But anything, you know, that has a narrative to it, anything that's colourful, I really love. Because I do also love, you know, vintage aesthetics. That kind of shows through my work quite a lot. So
So there's a lot of kind of like, say, a lot of photographers and that kind of thing. Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think they're definitely early inspirations, and then from then I get inspired from my own personal stuff just through everyday life, just from things you look at, you know, every day, and you just, things just pop in your head. So yeah. Cool. Well, you mentioned it at the start as well. We'll kind of talk about the studio, because I know that's something you want to kind of like raise a bit of awareness as well. So so this this is like, it's Druid Studio. Is that how you pronounce it?
Wait, what are we talking about? Are we talking about this studio, or are we talking about my set design company, Druid Studio?
Oh, so because which one? So you say one, the council are...
The council are trying to get rid of this.
Okay,
studio.
okay.
Yeah.
So what's the situation with that then?
Essentially we got a letter from Leeds City Council 2 weeks ago just saying everyone in this building was due to be evicted because they're selling the building. But they didn't give us, they're meant to give us a 7-day period of time to appeal, but they didn't even let us do that. And they still haven't had an open conversation with us. And we're sort of calling on them to have that open conversation with us, put a pause on it, and then have a conversation about how we can stop this happening and basically create a solution that works for both parties, because I think there's a way this place can become a community asset, and then it always stays as artist studios. But there's over 50 businesses in this building, all creative. There's photography studios, there's other photographers here as well, illustrators, artists, musicians even. I think it's over 150 people would be displaced out of a studio if this were to happen. And the issue being there aren't actually enough spaces in Leeds City Centre to be able to rehome every single artist here. So it's a big issue, really.
Yeah. So where are you up to at the moment with it?
So we're doing a lot of work on social media to keep the message alive. We have a petition to kind of pause the sale, stop the sale. We're also in the works of planning a protest, which is a bit of a more general creative protest about the wider things that are happening in the creative industry in Leeds, with other spaces closing down as well, and we're kind of facing a bit of a crisis for Leeds at the moment in the creative sector. So we do have a lot in the works. We're in talks with a couple of MPs and things like that, so it's just, we'll see how things progress, but we've certainly only just started with this. I think the council kind of want to bury their heads and ignore the fact this is happening. But I think, we're just going to keep persevering and campaigning for them to talk to us and pause it.
Yeah. Yeah, because what would that mean? Like I say, I think it's obviously you say about suddenly everyone's just out of this space. What would it mean for like you and the creatives? Because it's also like say like a community of people you know and kind of have got to know over the years.
Yeah, well, this is the thing. It's such a collaborative space. Everyone knows each other really. Like everyone works together. We have 2 yearly meetups as well. Everyone together. So it'd just be such a shame to lose the space and everyone here really, because I think a lot of people would have to be put into places like in spaces like offices, which I don't actually think would accept creatives. Purely because obviously we're quite messy, like we're painting, we're like, rearranging. So I think, I think it would be awful.
Yeah. What can people do to help?
So on our Instagram, F Street Workshops, there's a link in the bio, and then you can just sign the petition to kind of stop the sale. And then also, I think we're gonna have some counsellors' emails as well, and a template email that people can just send to express their concerns about it, to get them to properly respond to us and talk to us individually. So
Yeah, so the more kind of exposure about it and more buzz and
yeah, definitely. I think that's what we're trying to do. We've had some good media coverage so far, and we're just hoping to kind of keep it in the news generally and keep talking about it, so it can't just go under the radar.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Well. Let's say from our side as well, and we'll kind of put stuff up now as well and try and raise awareness of it and
Amazing.
stuff.
Thank you.
Before we go, we've got like one of the things I want to talk about is like you've sent us some images from like a set, and then another thing is one of the images from a magazine. Just briefly, I haven't talked too much about say like the filmmaking side of things. So yeah, with that, with the filmmaking. Is that something? Do you do as much of that, or is it?
No, not at all. I think I put that on my website because I think I can do that. It's just not an area I've really spent the time in yet. It's like an avenue I want to go down, but I think I need to do a lot more work on it over time. But I have directed my first music video that came out recently, and that was really, really fun to do. Not to mention I do work within the sort of film music video industry, but more in set design, so I do understand a lot of the inner workings of it. But yeah, I kind of want to be moving into that a little more. I've got a lot of scripts, but it's kind of like you need funding to get those things off the ground. So yeah, so it's kind of early days of it, but how was it like doing the music videos? How does it kind of differ from doing the stuff you normally do? Well, it was very different because I also filmed it, so and I'm not a videographer, so I did not enjoy the videography, but I did enjoy directing it and sort of doing the storyboarding. Very different. Obviously, it takes a lot longer. I think we shot it over 2 or 3 days, and the editing takes a lot longer as well. But it was quite a rewarding process, and I think it was a very good stepping stone because I definitely want to be doing and directing more music videos in the future. Yeah,
well, it kind of makes sense, like you say. I mean, with the work you create anyway, like with photography, it's very, like I say, there is this big sort of like narrative and like stories like that you create in images. So it kind of, to me, it makes sense that it's inevitable that you will go into film as well.
That's what I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I'd love to do art direction for film, and I'd love to direct things, but in my sort of creative style. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just. Yeah, let's say early days of it and kind of seeing how it goes with it.
Exactly.
Yeah, awesome. So yeah, we've spoke about the 2 images. So yeah, one of the other things I wanted to speak about was you've sent over some images from the set you created. So you said this was a plant installation for you were the creative lead.
Yeah.
And it's called Wake in the Ice for Leeds City of Culture 2023.
Yes. So this is definitely probably one of my favourite set design installations I've ever done. I do love working with plants, and this is actually half real and half fake plants. We kind of use a mix of both, and it's quite hard to tell, I feel. But yeah, a lot of reindeer moss as well, and then a lot of fresh, actual, real moss. We literally got something like 10 kilogram bags of moss for this exhibition. But yeah, this was for Waking the Artist exhibition for Leeds City of Culture 2023, and I was the creative lead, and then I was co-working with Sammy Gooch, who was the producer of this, and we worked together to essentially, we accepted thousands of artworks from the public of Leeds that have been submitted to Leeds 2023, and we turned a selection of these works, like a few hundred, into real life art installations based off their drawings or photos. So it was a really rewarding project, and it was up for 4 days, I think, and it was really well received by the public. They really enjoyed it. It was a family friendly exhibition. It spanned 2 floors of sort of an abandoned office space in one of the shopping centres in Leeds, and there were also panoramic views of Leeds all around out the windows. So it was very rewarding. We worked on it with such an amazing team as well of prop makers, set designers, set dressers, painters as well, that helped us make this sort of come to life.
Yeah, it's quite good that it can bring a lot of you together to create it. And I think you mentioned like you can see some of the images, the ones where you can see the sort of from the outside as well, and Leeds in the distance. How long did it take to set something like that up?
Well, the entire project, I think we started working on it in December 2022, and then it was open to the public in April. So it was a long-winded project, but in terms of when we were actually within the space, I think it was around a month that we had access to the space that we started building everything up. This particular installation we had to do pretty much the 5 days before it opened, because we were working with a lot of fresh and real plants. Obviously over time they could die, so we literally had a very short amount of time to kind of make all of this work, and every morning and every night we had to spritz all of the fresh plants with water just to make sure they were okay.
So, just to keep them going.
Just to keep them alive.
Does it feel, especially something like that, like, because it's quite a short space of time to do it in, do you feel what kind of pressure with that?
Definitely, and that's why it's good we had obviously a team, and no matter what, like I'm used to pulling late nights if I need to crack on with something. So I remember me and Sammy, there were definitely a few nights when me and her were just gluing down moss, and it was completely dark and there was not much light in there at night. So
just got a lamp on or something.
It was like 9:30 at night, and we just
where do you, when you're creating exhibition, like set designs, exhibition, all that stuff, where do you source a lot of the material? How do you find stuff like that?
Absolutely everywhere. To be honest, I know there's a vague answer, but prop sourcing comes from everywhere. I use eBay quite a lot. Facebook Marketplace can be good. Local charity shops, and also everything I do and that me and John do with Druitt Studio as well. We try and do as resourceful and sort of renewable as we can. So actually, even though for this exhibition we had 2 whole floors worth of stuff, absolutely everything within that, apart from genuinely about 3 bin bags, was recycled or regifted to artists or the public to reuse for their own creative crafts.
Well, that was going to be one of my questions about what kind of happens to the stuff afterwards.
Well, we kept some of the stuff, little things, like I've got a whole box of moss over there, reindeer moss from this. I've still got all the big flowers as well, actually, and some of the tall grasses. But then, a lot of it got re-gifted back to Leeds City of Culture for them to then use within communities. We also then basically let the public come in, and if they wanted to take any bits home, all of the team that we had, they took home real plants and materials, leftover materials for themselves as well. So everything was taken and reused. I took all the fabric home and then have been using them for photo shoots and things. So
that's it, because I was thinking, again, if you're creating often lots of just big sets and stuff you're getting in, it's you want it to go to good use afterwards and kind of like resolve. And you say it went well as well, the exhibition, and it's good response. It
was well received, and I think because it was only on for 4 days, we actually had a lot of people messaging us and saying that they were sad they didn't get to see it because they didn't know it was on and they'd missed it, and obviously it was only a 4-day period. But I think any longer than that, and it would have been a lot harder to keep all of the real plants because they kind of want to be
last legs. So they were holding on. Last image was, I wanted to bring this one up because the other two we spoke about was like personal projects, and then this one was for the magazine. So yeah, this one, this was called "It Was All a Dream." Yeah. Okay. So yeah, where was that one shot?
So I shot that, I think it was around Meanwood Park in Leeds, and it was just as the cherry blossoms were all coming out, and I'd always wanted to do a photo shoot outside, but incorporating a bit of set or studio within it as well, hence why this photo exists. I think I just used a backdrop stand and then just draped some pink fabric over it, and then that was the concept really. And we actually, so I shot this, and then this actually became my most liked Instagram photo on my photography account. So it was really well received, and it got a lot of attention. And then Rock and Roll Bride magazine got in touch and asked if they could use the editorial for their magazine, and I said yeah, of course. And then they used it for that. But again, a really fun shoot. I do love shooting on location when it's summer, when it's warm.
Yes.
And yeah, great team again. Like, I absolutely loved the outfits in this shoot as well. The dresses are just beautiful. If I can work with a fashion designer that creates colourful clothing or huge maximalist clothing, I'm always going to do that because it just blends with my style really nicely. Yeah,
is that like, say like with the clothing and style as well, is that, and just the idea of the shoot in general, was it something that just, was there a specific idea, or was it like, say like with the clothing as well, was that something once you kind of started involved and then see what they bring to it?
Yeah, again, like I have trust in my teams. I think I got the idea when I was just going for a walk myself and saw all the cherry blossoms and thought, yeah, I want to shoot something out here. And then I think I actually myself got in touch with the fashion designer. So I don't know if I worked with stylists for this shoot. I think I just got in touch with the designer because they came up and I was just like, I have to work with this person. So I got in touch with them, and they sent me a couple of dresses for the shoot, and then the concept kind of spiraled from there.
And yeah, you've obviously, because you've got studio, you do a lot of studio, and I know you said about wanting to do a lot more location. Obviously, like the weather's not always great. Is it just by convenience, or do you have a preference, or do you like a bit of both?
I really do like a bit of both. I really want to challenge myself to do more location work this year, because I used to do majority location work because I found locations so interesting. But I've had a few examples definitely where location work really let me down because of the weather. Because you can find an amazing team and have the most amazing concept and team and models and everything lined up. And it's happened to me once where that happened, and we were going to go and shoot a sort of like circus theme but in a field, and it was absolutely tipping it down. Like there was no way I was going to be able to shoot that. So then we ended up having to come back here, and we actually ended up shooting it in the sort of loft of this building.
Okay.
Which, it worked okay, but it was not the vision that I'd had for it. So I think that put me off location shoots for a while.
Yeah.
But I definitely want to do more, maybe more indoor locations.
Yeah. Well, I think it's also like around at the time of the year as well, and obviously it's starting to go nice now.
Yeah.
But we were saying earlier about so much of the year ends up just being cold, and
yeah.
I think it's just maybe doing so location ones, but at a certain time of the year, and just
exactly.
Any ideas you've got, then I'll save it for then, and then just get them all in.
Yeah, just do loads of them. Yeah, maybe I'll do that this summer.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, just to finish on, going forward, first of all, is there any ideas, any concepts you want to try that you haven't done yet?
Ooh, I think what would be really enjoyable would be if I created a fashion film. I've kind of done them before. I have actually done maybe about 4 or 5 fashion films that have just been personal projects that I have filmed myself. But I think a really fun project would be to work with a videographer, and I can then do the art direction and set design to create a really, really good fashion piece. I think that would be really, really fun. And then like in general, I'm trying to lean back into my personal work, because I feel like I've been quite busy over the last year with clients and commercial work, and I've lost a little bit of creative spark, and I want to get back to doing some editorials that mean something to me, and more location work as well. Yeah,
I think it's definitely important to keep the personal stuff up, and
yes,
again, it gives you a chance for like experimenting and all that sort of stuff as well.
Definitely.
And then finally, just do you have any bits of advice if there's anyone who's kind of beginning into the world of like creatives or like photography or set design or anything like that? Just any kind of advice you can offer?
Yeah, I'd say I guess 2 pieces of advice. One is to just contact people, try and meet people to go for coffees, like try and grow a bit of a network, because I've always found by becoming friends with other photographers, it's only ever a good thing. I think some people can think of it as it's quite competitive, but I've always had the view of everyone just helps each other within the creative industry, and that's definitely true. There's been times where I've had work come up and I can't do it, and I've given it to other photographer friends and vice versa. So I think definitely have a good network of creatives around you. And then my other advice, I would just say to be a jack of all trades if you can. If you want to, you may as well just do it, because then you're also kind of adding additional industries that you can work in. So maybe if you are having a bit of a tricky time, if you can work in a few different industries, then you might be able to find some work in one industry and then do a bit in another. So I think definitely just lean into whatever you enjoy and try and build that up and find some work in it.
Great, yeah, that's good advice, yeah. Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Thanks.
Cool.
Thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
No worries, thank you.